Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is crying to a song. Someone else is dancing alone in their kitchen. A mother is humming to a baby who doesn't understand a single word yet, but is already calming down. A soldier is marching to a beat. An athlete is running faster because of what's playing in their earbuds. Music is so embedded in human life that most people never stop to ask the obvious question. Who made it? Not who wrote your favorite song. Who invented music itself? Who was the first human to look at the world and think, what if we made intentional sound just for the feeling it creates? The answer is nobody did. Music wasn't invented. It wasn't planned, designed, or decided. Nobody sat in a cave and announced that humans needed rhythm. No tribe voted on whether melody should exist. Music happened to us, and the story of how is one of the strangest accidents in the entire history of our species. Let's start with a bone. In 2008, archaeologists digging inside a cave in southwestern Germany called Hohlfels discovered something extraordinary. A flute, made from the hollow wing bone of a vulture, roughly 40,000 years old. It had 5 finger holes carefully carved, made by a human who understood pitch, breath control, and the concept of creating sound for its own sake. Think about what that means. 40,000 years ago, an Ice Age human. Someone spending every day hunting, surviving, avoiding predators that could kill them in the dark. Stopped, found a bird bone, and spent hours turning it into a musical instrument. Not a weapon, not a food tool, a flute. But here's the thing. That flute is almost certainly not the beginning of music. It's just the oldest music we can still find. Because the most ancient musical instruments weren't made of bone or carved stone. They were made of things that rot, stretched animal skins, hollow logs, human hands clapping against human skin. The voice itself. Music almost certainly began long before any physical instrument survived 40,000 years underground. Which means the real origin goes much deeper into human prehistory than a single bird bone. And what scientists found when they looked deeper completely changed how we understand what music actually is. For a long time, scientists assumed music was invented for something. Maybe ritual, maybe communication, maybe to attract mates. Charles Darwin himself suggested music began as sexual selection. Early humans, he thought, may have used musical calls to attract partners the same way birds do. Beautiful sound as biological advertising. But more recent research points to something far less romantic and far more accidental. Imagine early humans doing the most basic physical labor. Grinding grain against stone, chopping wood, paddling a canoe, carrying heavy loads across open landscapes. Now imagine doing that with other people. Repeatedly, for hours. What happens naturally? You sync up, your movements start matching. And when movements match, sound starts matching too. The rhythm of hands hitting stone together. The collective grunt of a group lifting something heavy. The synchronized breathing of people moving in the same direction. Researchers studying group labor discovered that rhythmic sound dramatically improves collective physical effort. Muscles fire more efficiently. Fatigue sets in later. Work output increases measurably when people move to a shared beat. Music may not have started as art at all. It may have started as a biological productivity hack. A group that accidentally discovered rhythm while working together simply got more done. They moved better, survived better, and over thousands of years that accidental rhythm became something humans started seeking out on purpose. The beat didn't begin on a stage. It began in the dirt with tired hands trying to survive another day. But something else was happening too. Something nobody planned. When humans started making rhythmic sounds together, their brains began responding in ways that went far beyond productivity. Modern neuroscience has revealed that music activates more areas of the brain simultaneously than almost any other activity. Language processing, motor systems, emotional centers, memory networks, reward circuits, all firing at once. When you hear a song that gives you chills, your brain releases dopamine. The same chemical released when you eat food you love or fall in love or finally achieve something you have been working toward for months. Your brain is treating music as a reward. But nobody designed music to do this. Nobody knew the brain would respond this way. It was an accident, a biological side effect of a species that happened to be sensitive to sound, that happened to live in groups, that happened to survive better when those groups worked in sync. And here is the part that changes everything. Babies respond to music before they respond to language. Newborn infants, just days old, already show measurable responses to rhythm and melody. They calm to certain sounds. They track musical patterns before they understand a single word, before they know their own name. Music doesn't need to be learned the way language does. Something about it is already waiting inside us at birth. Some researchers now believe music may actually be older than language itself. That the musical voice, the rise and fall of sound, the rhythm, the emotional tone came first, and language slowly grew out of it, which means the first human conversations may have sounded less like talking and more like singing. Now imagine an Ice Age night. A group of maybe 30 people gathered around a fire. No electricity, no city sounds, just darkness, cold air, stars, and the sound of people breathing near each other. Someone starts tapping a rhythm on a log. Someone else joins. A third person begins humming low and steady, and then, without planning it, without deciding anything, the group falls into sync. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have documented this exact phenomenon. Spontaneous group music, singing, clapping, drumming emerges almost every night around fires. Not performed, not rehearsed, just happening naturally when humans sit together in the dark. Robin Dunbar, the evolutionary psychologist famous for studying human social bonds, calls music grooming at a distance. Physical grooming, touching, cleaning, gentle contact releases oxytocin and builds deep bonds in primates. But grooming can only happen one-to-one. One pair at a time. Music floods an entire group with oxytocin simultaneously. A fire full of people singing together is chemically bonding. Their brains are synchronizing. Their stress responses are dropping. Their trust in each other is quietly increasing. Music didn't just help early humans work better. It helped them like each other more. And in a world where survival depended entirely on group cooperation that turned out to be worth everything. Here is what nobody tells you about music. Researchers studying emotional responses across completely isolated human cultures found something remarkable. Songs that sound tense to people in modern cities sound tense to people in remote tribal communities who have never heard outside music. Lullabies across cultures separated by entire oceans share strikingly similar melodic patterns. Music that sounds joyful in one language sounds joyful in another. The emotional language of music appears to be built in, not learned, not cultural, biological, which means the Ice Age human sitting beside a fire 40,000 years ago, hearing that vulture bone flute for the first time, felt something in their chest that you would recognize immediately. Same instrument, same response, 40,000 years apart. Every song you have ever loved was an accident. Not the song itself someone wrote that deliberately, but the human capacity to be moved by music, to need it, to feel less alone because of it. None of that was designed. It grew from tired hands accidentally syncing rhythms in the dark. From mothers humming to calm frightened children. From groups around fires discovering that sound could do something no other tool ever could. Could make strangers feel like family. Today humans spend more time listening to music than almost any other voluntary activity. We put it on when we are sad. When we are driving alone. When we need to feel something we cannot quite put into words. And somewhere in the deep architecture of your brain, the same circuits that fired in an Ice Age cave are firing right now. You were never taught to love music. You were built for it long before anyone understood that is what was happening. So the next time a song hits you somewhere you cannot explain in a way your brain arrives at before your thoughts do, remember this. You are not having a modern experience. You are having a 40,000-year-old one. It was always yours.